before we get super messy, I am going to show you this one because this was a paint bucket that I covered in fabric so that it looks cute in my little garden room, but you might recognize, oh, if I can put it down far enough that you can see. Oh yeah, here you go. Emma. So, as I said, I started thinking that I needed the layers. So I got these, I got a bigger one, and then started doing the bedding and then the feeding the food up here. But I always had too much, and the worms didn't just do like they always say, go up, and just continue, and then you keep putting the next one on top. So I watched plenty more videos, and I'm sure I'll link all of those for you, and found some really useful ones, because when I started this huge one, I just kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it, and then I said, how do I get the worms out? And the whole sifting thing was a big, huge pain in the ass, so I started looking for the videos where it's like a no-sift extraction of the worms. So I'm going to show you this one real quick. So basically, let me throw my receipts on top of there just for fun, because those eventually will be part of the bedding. Yeah, the bedding. So to keep the fruit flies, I was looking back at one of the other videos, and he put a couple layers of newspaper and even a piece of cardboard, and yeah, I see no fruit flies today, but there kind of can be some fruit flies, and that's really what you're trying to avoid, is in the house attracting all the fruit flies and creating a new sustainable colony of fruit flies. So, oh, there goes one right now. Okay, so anyways, I used the dry leaves from the park in front of my house. But the dried leaves are also really good for compost. So right now I'm just to check on them, or if I'm doing my feeding, I'll pull all the dry ones off. And, oh, I don't see any. Oh, there's some little wormies. There's some little wormies there. And then I kind of just start turning it over, giving it some oxygen, because the oxygen helps just the natural composting of it. But also I'm looking for big bits, and you know what, I am going to turn this over. So let's try to get this over to the side. I like to keep my dry stuff dry so I can keep reusing it on top, but let's just go ahead and shake some of this out. So there's still a lot of big twigs. Anytime I have a dead plant or something, I just throw it in there, but I might try to keep that off to the side. Yeah, sticks, twigs, those things are taking a long time to decompose, but really, for the most part, this bucket has a real good turnover rate. So wow, I've got a lot of really, oh, I gotta get you in there to see all those beautiful little worms. You could probably see them, but look! Do you see them all wiggling around in there? Ooh, right here. Where is it? Yes! Yes! Little wigglers! And those, I think, are all just new babies. Ooh, every time I scoop. Very nice. So I'm not seeing any major pieces of the last feeding, which, oh, nope, here it is. Oh, that's the bedding. So here's where all the old paper scraps, oh, that was a toilet paper roll. So they're all wrapped in there, because that's the bedding. That's where they go to escape from the heat of the food. I just made that up. I don't really know, but that's what it sounds like when I watch the other videos. But yeah, the last feeding about a week and a half ago, yeah, seems to be gone. Wow, this guy, oh, really turning out nice. So getting some air in there, turning the compost. It's really wet. So I've never, because of the fresh food that I use And because a lot of times now I'm using the frozen food, I'm not spraying down the bedding. You'll see videos where they spray it down first, but I think just the natural moisture in the food. What is that? A piece of clay pot. Doesn't need to be in there. That will keep everything moist enough, because too much moisture, then you'll start getting rotting, and that will start to stink. And again, should never smell like anything other than beautiful fresh dirt. Okay, so I'm pulling this all out. I'm going to give it a good turn, see where we're at, add some new fresh bedding to make sure it stays dry enough. Obviously, they like it wet, they prefer it wet. I always see them sitting in puddles of water on the balcony, so I'll add some more bedding to this. But what I can do here, when I'm putting it back in, yeah, I think I'm going to start the migration. So basically what that is that all of the, see, I'm still in the phase of I don't know which way to go, because it seems like it needs some more. I might just throw this in there. There's still enough food and bits and stuff in here that I'm just going to add a little bit of bedding to get some of the moisture out and let them keep working on what is in here, because I did, that's pretty soon. I had just fed them last week. I'm pretty sure that I keep my calendar a little bit better on the days that I'm feeding to have more accurate results. So I'm really just going to add a little bit of paper down in the bottom here. Try not to get this dirty with my dirty hands. A little bit more of this, just to give them some fresh bedding. And I might, no, I'm not going to mix in that, but these big, it's all the receipts that I get. Put them in my pocket, and then I just throw them in here as bedding. Okay, so I'll get this nice and aerated, helping the decomposition, just the regular composting process. Oh, it's so much fun. Oh, okay. Too much fun. Okay, then I just put that back in. Now, if you were starting a worm bin, you might have your, bunch of worms, like here, I'll just give you a bunch of worms, and then you sprinkle that nice and even across the bedding. So just a small little, just a little bit spread across, and then add a little bit of food, not too much, and then cover it with a little bit more regular natural dirt, potting soil. If you don't have a lot of worm compost, a little bit of regular compost, because you want the food that they're going to eat underneath. Oh, look at these cute little worms. The layer of food, the fresh food that you're feeding, underneath a small layer of dirt, existing dirt, as well as then you put the paper on top again to keep the fruit flies out. So right now I'm just putting these guys back in there so that they keep feeding, keep processing, because I do see quite a bunch of bits of sticks and things that they can snack on, a lot of leaves and things. So really this one, I'm just going to consider this one a little bit of a turning, a little bit of an aeration. I'm not going to do a feed, but probably next week, I'll give it one more week, and that's when I can, ooh, lots of big sticks. Let's get these guys in there. Next week I can start the migration where I'll do the same thing, aerate it, push it all over to one side, and then start the feeding, just a little small feeding over here on this side. And that will start all the worms to go just to that feeding, because there's too much food right now, I think, all over in here that they have to snack on, that they don't necessarily need to go migrate to one side to feed. And I think that sometimes is I get too excited, I want to keep feeding them, and they never fully finish the food that's in there. So I'm gonna try to leave them alone. It's super hard, so I'm playing with my worms. Yep, baby, baby, baby. Ooh, now that I've aerated it and fluffed it up a bit, I'm not sure if I'm gonna get this all back in there. But plenty of room here. Let's use this nice plastic, keep it all together. Smooth these guys around a bit. Okay, yeah, that was nice. It's nice and fluffy now. Oh, come on, little guy. You don't want to sit out in the dry stuff. Lots of cute worms. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, they're just all sticking in my gloves, too. Love it. Okay, let's try to get these guys all back in there. Oh, the time I've spent staring at plastic, looking for the tiniest little thing wiggling. It's awesome. I love it. Gotta make sure they all get back in here. Okay, not exciting video, but just what I love to do. Playing with the worms. Okay. Maybe, oh, that is one tiny, 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 tiny little worm. Oh my goodness. Yep. Making sure he's getting in there. Okay. Now, okay, so this is full again. I'm going to cover it with the dry material, because the dry material will keep the fruit flies away, but I think I do need some extra paper and cardboard. Oh, little worm, get over here. I'll tuck you back down in there. Don't try to escape. Okay, you too, little guy. Just in case. All right. So, see how it's all fluffed up now, and I can't really get it back in. But I'm gonna find a piece of cardboard, and I'll be right back.